Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. So we did this Patreon exclusive. And again, this one is one that we're afraid to do on YT in any way, shape, or form. Still, because you just don't know what's going to trigger you being completely ostracized or non-existent anymore. Again, we're in a transition period. People are waking up. They're starting to understand what's going on. You guys, for the most part, really understand what's going on. And, it's just kind of mind-blowing to many people.
It is. And, our newest Patreons, Heather and Susan, thank you so much. You guys help us do videos like this. And we say things on here that we are not allowed to say on YouTube.
No, and we do have YouTube memberships as well, but there's certain topics that are taboo, and you just never know what's going to trigger a response from the system. Meanwhile, we have the Canyon Fire forcing thousands to evacuate in Ventura and Los Angeles counties. This time, it's every year. This is the thing. We keep getting these massive fires each year. Each year seems to outdo the last one. And it doesn't seem to be stopping. It doesn't seem that the response from the power structure is getting any better, really. At least it really doesn't seem like that to me. Again, it kind of blows my mind when we have all this flooding going on in certain areas. We have these fires every single year. They can manipulate and control weather, at least to a certain extent. It's even been, again, declassified. Why would we have any of these issues in this day and age? Why would we have all these issues that we see every single year going on? It's just very, very frustrating. Over here in China, you have 10 people lost their lives, 33 missing. Okay, that's a message to somebody out there, 33 missing. This is another area that receives half a year's rainfall in 24 hours. Again, they want to make it out that it's simply because we're driving around cars. But again, the oil and gas industry is part of the decision of the true power structure. They don't want to share free energy, which has always existed.
Well, basically, these things just don't need to happen.
Yeah, and it gets really frustrating to look at this. And I know a lot of you guys are frustrated too. And, so many of our regulars, when it comes to the news, they don't even want to look. They want to just make sure that nothing's happening in their neighborhood, but they just don't want to look because it can certainly make you frustrated. This is over in Japan. Again, very similar conditions. Look at this. Just, again, water is very powerful, washing away roads and bridges, sweeping away, unfortunately, people too. It's just a disaster that we see ongoing everywhere we look. Pre-2017, in my life, I don't remember seeing this type of floods on a regular basis, but we have also seen that historically it has happened. Again, the 1860s and the 1870s, tons of monumental floods. Literally, the whole California Valley was inundated. Again, Sacramento, for instance, was buried in the floodwaters. But then again, were so many other locations. Chattanooga, Tennessee, over in Pennsylvania. And it just seems like a round robin as to what area gets hit next. Is it just simply Mother Nature being fickle? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Here we have Tropical Storm Ivo triggering severe floods. This is in Mexico again. And when we're talking about Mexico, we got a lot of things going on with the border. We're going to touch on that in a second. But while I'm thinking of it, 23 aftershocks to the big 8.8. The biggest one of these was a 6.0. So that was one of the more recent ones. The other thing that we've seen is a few very curious New England quakes. Yeah, it's very curious to see sometimes when you get these quakes in areas that you just don't typically see. Now, they do happen. In fact, again, New Jersey had a swarm that was very large, small quakes, but very large in the number of them. here you go. We see the two that we were talking about last week. You see one in that swarm area, and then you got Massachusetts quake, and now we have a Maine quake. Again, very small, 1.4. But it goes on top of the headlines talking about this moving mass, a moving blob of magma underneath New England, which was the headline in the New York Post if you missed it. And yeah, the article, if you don't read the article, you think, oh my God, what are we going to have? A super volcano erupt there in New England, in New York? But then they give us these, well, you don't have to worry about anything for millions of years. I don't buy their timelines. Never have, never will. Meanwhile, Putin says that he'll halt the war in exchange for eastern Ukraine, in effect, the territory that Russia has been controlling. So just make that part of Russia, and we could end this right now. Zelensky is saying he will not accept that. And what we get, again, from all the actors involved, and I literally mean actors, is, again, Trump saying, hey, we could broker a deal. He did broker a deal between Armenia and Azerbaijan just, I think it was yesterday. Big photographs of signing a little peace accord, but not here. And again, the Polish psychic has said that there's going to be a coup in Ukraine. He saw a coup in Ukraine and Zelensky being ousted. So we'll have to see, because it looks like, 2 out of the 3 here, Putin and Trump, want to get something done. But Zelensky is the odd duck out. Maybe his leather chaps are on too tight.
I bet you that's the case.
It could be. It could be. And then you have, again, 47 saying that, we're going to use military force if we have to go after the drug cartels. And that includes going into Mexico and Latin America. And then you have Claudia Sheinbaum, who is the president of Mexico, saying you're not welcome, and no, don't send any, troops over the border. So a very, very testy environment. Meanwhile, young Americans face financial crisis. 62% of Generation Z have not a penny in emergency savings. This is exactly what is planned. You will own nothing. Again, at some point in time, Cindy had gotten years ago that when it comes to the cures for the plague upon the land, there would be a time when people that had suffered because of that would be given money, kind of like retribution. Yeah, like a UBI, like a universal basic income, but separate from it, because they do want to give everybody a universal basic income. If you abide by their rules, head into the urban areas, accept whatever it is, any type of surveillance, and et cetera, et cetera. This system will probably give you a nice tiny little apartment somewhere, hook you up with a little day job. You could probably do it from home, and give you UBI. And if you had an issue because of the cure, then you probably get some sort of disability, I think. That's something that's coming. This is something that Cindy saw way back in 2021, I think.
It is. It's going to come under the guise of that problem that people had because of the cure. So it'll start there.
So, yeah, acknowledging that there's issues is something that has been planned for well ahead. 51% of Americans would use a credit card for a $500 emergency, with usage jumping to 70% among students. I don't like to buy anything unless and this is a change in me, because when I was a young adult, I did a lot of stupid things, including putting things on credit and taking years to pay things off. And, that is just another level of debt slavery. So, yeah, while we do use a credit card for protection, we also pay it off before it's due each month, and don't allow it. I mean, we just will hold off, and we won't get whatever it is until we have the money for it. And, we just made a major purchase with a ride-on lawnmower, because I was cutting 4 acres by hand, literally. And so, it's just one of those things. When I think back to my parents, they never had a second car because they could never afford a second car. And they never bought a house. They never took a chance on buying a house. Not that we ever own anything, because again, the government can take it back in times of emergency, or if you misplaced some of your taxes, land-wise, house taxes, etc. You forget it. They'll just sell it off. That's what they do. So what we see is just, again, part of the slow slide, which seems to be the incline seems to be getting steeper. And yet Nancy Pelosi's portfolio grew 70% just last year. Wow, she outperformed every single hedge fund and more than doubled Warren Buffett. Yeah, it's who you know. It's not what you know, it's who you know. She had a net worth of $413 million while earning $174K in a year in Congress. It isn't even possible. And this is from Barron Trump. Will he be the third Trump president? I just got to wonder, because Donald Jr. is the one that current polls are showing right behind the Vice President Vance as most likely to run on the Republican side. Or will we have a king crowned? Again, it's all part of the script, and I do really truly mean that, and I know you guys get that.
We'll have to see.
Alarming new study finds smartphones are ruining our brains at unprecedented speed. Any parent with a kid addicted to TikTok or Instagram is familiar with the concern that it's ruining their brain. I'm of a certain age when I hear that refrain regularly from my dad as I settled in each summer afternoon to watch reruns of Gilligan's Island, The Brady Bunch, and The Partridge Family. It was the golden age of reruns. Gosh, all those ring a bell for me. I think some of you guys, yeah, they ring bells there too. That was a different time. But, again, what's happened? The addiction to smartphones is actively ruining your brain at a pace that should freak everybody out. So there was a devastating analysis of American personality changes using data from Understanding America study, and the findings should stop you cold. In less than a decade, conscientiousness, the trait most closely linked to responsibility, follow-through, and self-control, has collapsed amongst young adults. For those aged 16 to 39, it's not gradual erosion, it's a plunge from respectability into the low 30th percentile. Older adults who aren't addicted to smartphones, meanwhile, remain essentially unchanged. So this is a graphic about personality changes. There could be other issues in there too, besides the phones. I see that there's other issues.
I do too, and it's so unfortunate because parents are so busy, and a lot of times, the kids are looking at the phones, they're looking at the tablets, they're busy too, and I don't know, it's like we have to turn it around and do more hands-on, just make that time to put the tablets and phones down and get our kids using their hands again.
I forget who it was, but one of our family members this week, because we had a really busy week, just with clients and all, had said that 2 days out of the week they don't use any tech. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was mind-blowingly awesome and just amazing. Congratulations there.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally unplugging for 2 days. So as you could see, there's other things too that are heading in some concerning directions. I really have to wonder back. There's a lot of different things. And this is one of the biggest things. Human connection to nature has declined 60% in the last 200 years, which, again, we don't feel one with nature. I don't know how you could in the middle of like Washington, D.C., Dallas, Atlanta. Again, it's so hard for sensitive people to really experience all that vibe, all the Wi-Fi, all the EMF. There are things out there that can mitigate EMF. And sorry, somebody just knocked on the door there. There are things out there. There is help on the way, and there's already help here when it comes to EMF mitigation, and we'll talk about that more in the future. But getting out into nature is an absolute must. Meanwhile, you have UFO whistleblower reveals 4 types of aliens the U.S. government knows about. Yeah, again, we know about the Greys, the Nordics, the insectoids, and reptilians. There's a lot more than that. And when you look to the ancient Indian texts, you could find out which ones, in some cases, use which ships. And that's something that's actually mind-blowing. But again, we've talked about this so many times, and we have deep dived this in lives and many other videos. We'll absolutely bring it up again. Do you know there's a major crystal cave in Mexico? Look at the size of these crystals. Can you imagine how much amplification is happening over there? That is mind-blowing. Think about the amplification possibilities with a cave that large. Because again, crystals are amplifiers.
I love working with crystals. They're wonderful.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're all over the house. We have hundreds of crystals in this house. And we also have raccoons. And these guys are like real mischievous. And it is kind of hard to stay mad at them, even though they did basically damage a couple of my bird feeders out front, and literally were hanging upside down, snatching food out of it. But yeah, they're so cute. How could you stay mad at them?
I agree. That little bandit that kind of does it all, and it's just so cute. Look at him run with his hands full. He's so cute.
Absolutely. Well, guys, this is again a big reveal because again, the system is being exposed. We are out of the dark age, which again, that just means that we understand the situation a little bit more. We still have a lot of work to do. And one of the most difficult things is keeping your frequency up while, being aware of what's going on. It is a challenge, but it can be done. And again, nothing in our minds, there's nothing more important than a daily spiritual practice to root yourself and ground yourself. Also, get out in the sun, get out there in the earth, play with nature, and enjoy all the neighbors in the neighborhood.
Indeed.
Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.